Today, we are going to be evaluating the power of banned modern cards. And today, we're looking at Sensei's Divining Top. Now, this is a card that I don't know if this was even banned in Modern or if they just pre-banned this thing in Modern. The artifact for one generic, pay 1, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. Or, I mean, hey, that is a huge commander staple right there. Also a legacy staple, up until the point that it got banned. But you can also tap, draw a card, then put Sensei's Divining Top on its owner's library. Now, that was a killer combo with Counterbalance. For a blue-blue, whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you do, counter that spell if it has the same converted mana cost as the revealed card. So this was considered the counterbalance lock. If your deck played a lot of cards at a low converted mana cost, or a low mana value, I should say, that's the new deal. You would look at the top 3 cards of your library. If let's say your opponent plays Death Shadow, well, your counterbalance triggers, and you use your top to go look for a card. You pay a mana, look at the top, who knows how many cards of your library, and you could put on top Lightning Bolt. There, Lightning Bolt. Counter your Death Shadow. Then what if you play Tarmogoyf? Then you would like, or does anyone even play Tarmogoyf anymore? Let's say someone plays, yeah, sure, let's say even Tarmogoyf. Some people play Tarmogoyf out there. Then you could, again, spin your top and look for a counter spell and counter that Tarmogoyf. So this was, for those, Sensei's Divining Top was a very, very good card. It was banned in Legacy because it was, well, in addition to being good, it also dragged a lot of the matches on. A very similar effect would happen in Modern. Although I have to say, I don't think it is one of the more powerful cards on the Modern ban list. It is a very good card. It's a very efficient card. But there's a lot of hate for artifacts if it was that big of a deal. Like these days, we've got, what, Force of Vigor? Force of Vigor alone, first off, is probably going to deal with the combo. Because, like, what, how many 4-drops do you have in your deck? How many Jace the Mind Sculptors do you have that you could top with your counter top? And you would not only blow up the Sensei's... Well, actually, you may not... You wouldn't hit the Sensei Divining Top, but you can hit the... what's it called? The... Or no, wait a minute. You could. If they go to tap... I was thinking, in response to the Force of Vigor, you can then tap, draw a card, then put Sensei's Divining Top on top of its owner's library. But actually, instead, you could... In response to them playing the tap draw card, for like a Miracles effect, you Force of Vigor, blow up the counterbalance, blow up the Sensei's Divining Top. Good morning everyone. Burning Paper Sun says, I want top so bad in Modern. Yeah, in response to drawing the card, we can absolutely do that. A friend at my local game store bought me a top for my birthday last month. You have a great friend. Great card in Commander. Banned in Legacy and Modern for being a little bit too slow. We have to admit that the Sensei's Divining Top counterbalance mirror is usually miserable. It's usually very, very slow. It takes forever. And then if you get a draw, then you're going to just play against other people who are playing Sensei's Divining Top decks, which is not to your benefit. But grand scheme of things, like even in Legacy, it was a very, very good deck. Debatably the best deck in Legacy. Definitely one of the better ones. Definitely top 5. But was not grossly overpowered. Not grossly. And I think in Modern, it still wouldn't be grossly overpowered. It would be just a very, very, very good deck. It would be a top tier deck, but not tier 0. I do not think Sensei's Divining Top is one of the more powerful. It's a very good card, but it requires setup and is not one of the more powerful cards on this list, but it's still a very good card. Say, like, I would put at, like, A tier. It is an A tier card. Next up on here, a card that went from very fair to very broken overnight. Simian Spirit Guide. Harambe. We want the original Simian Spirit Guide. A red and 2 generic for a 2/2 ape spirit, but this is no ordinary ape. Remove Simian Spirit Guide in your hand from the game. Add a red to your mana pool. This was, for a very long time, relatively fair. I think its earliest broken days was trying to ramp out like a turn. I think it was used in Goryo's Vengeance. I could be wrong. But eventually it found play in things like Cascade decks. So, Violent Outburst. In fact, my favorite Cascade deck that this was being played in, because the thing is, you can ramp into something like Violent Outburst, and it will never check. The Cascade will never check for Simian Spirit Guide. You won't do it. It won't do it because of because it's 3 mana. It's hard to get rid of it as well. Oh, you're talking about the Sensei's Divining Top. Is the only instant Cascade? No, it definitely was not. You could use Simian Spirit Guide to ramp Chalice on 1 by... Sorry, Chalice on 1 on turn 1. You could use Simian Spirit Guide to ramp into a Blood Moon without using any mana dorks. You could use Simian Spirit Guide... Oh, where was it all being used? It was badly abused before it just got banned. It could be used in... Did they use it in Belcher? I don't remember. I don't remember now. I don't remember all the sins of Simian Spirit Guide because all the decks got banned with it. And almost everything like just was really crawling to come back. Does anyone else remember where Simian Spirit Guide was played? Oh, is this the only instant Cascade? Yes, the only instant Cascade spell in Modern is Violent Outburst. Grishelbrand, yes, but that wasn't one of the more broken decks right before they banned this card. I think there was some Tibalt trickery decks that was using Simian Spirit Guide. I may be mistaken. They ramped Violent Outburst into a Tibalt's trickery. And maybe it was one of those Eldrazi decks that used Simian Spirit Guide. Eldrazi Tibalt trickery decks. It was just full of Eldrazi Titans and stuff. That was one. Oh, and Ad Nauseam. But Ad Nauseam was a fair deck. But Neobrand used Simian Spirit Guide to very good effect to try to get out as many turn 1, turn 2 victories. Because you could go Simian Spirit Guide, you could go turn 1 land, Simian Spirit Guide, Mana Morphos, and then now you have the mana to play your, what's it called, Neo Form. And then you got the mana. Yeah, Trickery ran it for sure. Oh, by the way, I didn't show Tibalt's Trickery. If anyone wants to know what we're talking about. So you would have a Cascade spell, and then Tibalt Trickery would say, counter target spell, choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards on the top of their library. Then you exile cards on the top of your library until they exile a non-land card with a different name. They may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So the idea is you just load your deck up with like Cascade spells and Eldrazi Titans, and then statistically your Tibalt's trickery will hit one of your Eldrazi Titans and not a Simian Spirit Guide. I believe Simian Spirit Guide was played in those decks. I believe so. Yeah, I'm drawing a little bit of a blank of all the other broken decks that were at the time. I mean, do you know what? There was a lot of Cascade decks at the time, and Simian Spirit Guide simply shortened the turn down, like shortened the win condition time down by 1 turn for free. You didn't have to add any mana, you didn't have to play any lands, it didn't do nothing. Simian Spirit Guide just gifted you the mana on a silver platter, and you are already 1 step ahead. So it was on a very similar broken ability. It was on the similar broken path as something like Mox Opal, which pulls you ahead by an entire turn. Then, and mind you, it was only for 1 turn, but that 1 turn usually did you in, whereas Mox Opal like permanently pulled you 1 turn fully ahead. But you have to sacrifice a creature, right? Well, you have to sacrifice the Simian Spirit Guide from your hand, so you don't sit like, you know, it was exiled from your hand. All right, so that card became incredibly broken by the end of its days. And I'm very happy to see it gone. And because it's gone, Modern is a lot slower of a format thanks to it. Alright, and now moving on, Skull Clamp. I've never played against this card. I've never played with this card. I've never seen this card. I've never seen it played in Modern. But I have no doubt that basically paying 2 mana to draw 2 cards, and then in the future, like, you just pay another 1 mana to draw more cards off of tokens or something like that is just beyond disgusting. How about you Commander players? You guys let me know in the comments section how good Skull Clamp is. And the answer is that it could be just as disgusting in Modern. Skull Clamp is bae. It was never legal in Modern, but pretty sure. I'm also pretty sure. I have no doubt that this card has no business to be in Modern. Skull Clamp plus Arcbound Ravager is a wet dream. That is interesting, actually. Or just any Hardened Scales deck. Yeah, Arcbound Ravager. You know, I didn't even think about that. So not only, like, a Hardened Scales Affinity deck could probably use this deck. So any deck that uses Sacrifice as an outlet, you can start sacking the creature that you put the Skull Clamp on. And boom, draw millions of cards. Affinity is just salivating. Actually, it could go into more than just Hardened Scales Affinity. You could also just put this in regular Affinity. Put this on your Memnite. Yeah, easily. Kill off your Memnites. Kill off a lot of your 1 toughness artifacts. Draw more cards. Or equip it, then sack it to the Ravager. Where the Magic developers give it the -1 and draw 2. Yeah. In Commander has infinite combos. Well, we don't have quite infinite combos in Modern, but you wouldn't need it. You would just need to, like, dump 2 creatures, and then you'd be off to the races. Robert, thank you so much for the super chat. What is the best legendary creature in Modern, and why is it Yargle? Because he's a 9-power creature. When Bezenlok's lieutenant Yar Cool grew too ambitious, the demon lord transformed him into a maggot. The frog then ate the maggot, grew and grew until the ravenous spirit burst from his body. Disgusting. Anyway, back to Skull Clamp. No, you kill tokens with Skull Clamp. I understand you can do that, and that's like the default thing, but someone just mentioned, like, there's a very good Modern, like, Affinity is a very good deck in Modern, and you could just jam this in there, and probably would be fine. You could kill off a lot of the creatures that are already in the deck, and also kill, with sack outlets, kill off the rest of it. So you pay 1, then sack the thing, and you still get the 2 cards. Because whenever equipped creatures put into the graveyard, you're drawing the cards. Elves with that. That is interesting. That is a very interesting idea, because Elves has so much mana floating, and if the threat density of their deck is high enough, that's possible. Maybe you'll just keep playing Elves, keep playing mana. Where are we? No. That's too early. I don't know what happened there. But it's time to talk we'll talk a little bit more about Skull Clamp, but before we do that, we gotta talk about our sponsors, FusionGamingOnline.com, my favorite place to buy my Magic cards. Just got some very miscreants in the mail. Building the Pauper deck right now. If you build it, they will come, and I will have that Pauper deck ready for my next big Magic events. I want to play Mono Blue Pauper, and I'm getting all my singles from FusionGamingOnline.com. You can also pre-order Dominaria United. Right, it's not pre, you can just buy it now, but I get all my singles from FusionGamingOnline.com. Don't forget to use coupon code Nikachu, though. It gets you 5% off all your purchases, and it supports the channel. And we're also going to thank Mana Traders, the premier place for renting Magic cards online. And you know, those new cards are out, you know, things like Hexcatcher, Merfolk. You're interested in it, but you don't want to buy into the deck yet? You could always rent it with mana traders, or if you're just the type of person who just flip-flops from one deck to the next because you can't stand playing the same deck twice, mana traders is the service for you because you're just renting the cards, and then when you're sick of it, you send them back and you rent a new deck in any format, anytime you want. You can support the channel using my mana traders link in the description below, or save 10% off your first 2 months using coupon code Nikachu_B2Q. Alright, and where am I here? Let's get back to skull clamping. What other decks today would probably play this? So we have Affinity, Elves. Yeah, there's quite a few decks, actually. Urza's Saga into Skull Clamp. Whoa, that's a line. You better that. What would get banned first? Both of them? Urza's Saga, Skull Clamp? Yeah, that would be just too easy. It'd be too easy. Called Forge Master, Skull Clamp, and Ornithopter. What does this call the Forge? Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it is enchanted or equipped, return to its owner's hand. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. Does this work with Ornithopter? Because it's too big. Ornithopter is thick. Ornithopter, a thick boy. It's a 0/2, so it won't die to the Skull Clamp. I think you mean Memnite. Yeah, Skull Clamp would just get rebanned. Oops. Yeah, I think you mean Memnite, though. That works. So your Memnite dies, and you keep bringing it back with this card. I don't think you need to be that fancy. Yeah, Skull Clamp, just absolutely broken, and you can find it with Urza's Saga. At the very least, if Skull Clamp was unbanned, it'd probably help get Urza's Saga finally banned. Ooh. Oh, here's the big S. The Splinter Twin. The Splinter Twin! The card so many people want to see unbanned. The People's Champions card that everyone assumed was banned for the wrong reasons. Splinter Twin was unjustly banned. That was the police of Modern. Except that, you know, after it was gone, we found a new police, and it was called Death Shadow. Or we should just call it Thoughtseize. And now our new police... Now we have a lot of polices. We got Force and Negation. Actually, Force and Negation does a better job than the Thoughtseize decks these days. Splinter Twin was the best deck in Modern, and by a pretty large margin. You know, we complain these days about... like a deck taking up 12% of the metagame, like Uro did. Splinter Twin was like at least 12%, sometimes as high as 15%. It was a very good chunk of the winner's metagame. Now, if you go to a GP, yes, it looked very diverse. Splinter Twin doesn't look overwhelming, but the people who were playing Splinter Twin had a very, very, very high win rate. And make no mistake, when you're playing online, like a fifth of... I think how people... the frequency you play against, like, Omnath these days... is more, no, maybe not Omnath, maybe Murktide. The frequency you play against Murktide these days was equivalent to Splinter Twin. So if you're sick of Murktide, then you're getting sick of Splinter Twin. They say Splinter Twin did nothing wrong. Splinter Twin plus the elementals? Ugh, that could be crazy. Oh, Sophia says about the Skull Clamp. Unban it for a month, see how it performs in the metagame. Or, oh, maybe you're talking about Splinter Twin. There we go. If the card is encouraging unwanted play, you will reban it. Yet if there isn't community backlash, you will unban it. I think there's gonna... You know what? Splinter Twin is a good card because it's positioned very well with Deceiver Exarch. So, like, you know, Splinter Twin just naturally goes into a blue-red control deck that can combo kill you at any time that they want. And you know what? I would not be surprised if they played Murktide. They would just jam Murktide in this deck, or Ragavan. Ragavan, Murktide, why not? Now, Murktide doesn't go very... Or like, some sort of red threat. Like, maybe Ledger Shredder? Like, what would they play? Maybe they don't play Murktide. Maybe they play Ledger Shredder. Maybe they play Ragavan. Maybe Dragon Rage Chandler, you know what I mean? But they can get out in front really early, play a bunch of spells, and really put the pressure on you to tap out, and then boom, you're dead. You're smoked. You're gonna get Splinter Twin out of your existence. What makes this any worse than Helid Ballista? Like I said, it goes into a perfect blue-red control shell. So they've got the counter spells to protect themselves. With Deceiver Exarch, they can come in at flash speed. The Helid Company deck is a lot more janky. Like, you have to combo off more at sorcery speed than the Splinter Twin deck. Or, I shouldn't say you have to combo off. Splinter Twin is sorcery speed, but this... Let's say you have better tools in blue-red than you do in green-white for an actual combo kill. By the way, the Helid Ballista deck, if you're on infinite life gain, that doesn't win the game. Infinite damage does, but that's harder to pull off because you need a lot of mana in play. Splinter Twin wouldn't be a problem even if it got unbanned. Oh, do not. You're going to eat your words. You're going to eat your words. Splinter Twin would be... I don't think it would be just as good as it was back then, but it'd be very, very good, and it would be a dominant force in Modern. I can say it at the very least, Splinter Twin would be a dominant force in Modern. If you never played against Splinter Twin before, you cannot understand. When they get to 3 mana, you can't tap out anymore. You have to leave up 2 mana for some removal spell. Now, that's not going to be for every deck, because now we have Solitude, so now the Solitude decks can just completely tap out. But the most decks are going to have to leave up some mana in order to interact with that stupid Splinter Twin combo. Because otherwise you just get comboed off, and it's so feel bad. Like, another thing is, if you aren't tapping out, then you're not putting on a clock. So you're put in this stupid situation where you should tap out because that gives yourself the best chance of beating Splinter Twin. But then once you tap out, you're dead. They Deceiver Exarch end of turn, and you know when they play really fast, they snap tap Deceiver Exarch, untap, rip their card off the top of that, slam the Splinter Twin on top, the Splinter Twin on the board. Yeah, you know it's over. Whenever my opponents tap their land super quickly, you know it's over. I played both the combo and mid-range games so well. You have to. Having Splinter Twin nowadays with Force Negation to protect if it taps out. No, Force Negation doesn't work on your turn. Remember, Force Negation only works on... It's only free on your opponent's turn. Yeah, they could play Fury now. I wouldn't play Grief, but they could play. They would adapt a lot of really good cards. So anyways, I started blasting Deceiver Exarchs. I remember Jund being the twin killer, and it still only had like a 50-50 matchup against them because they were the Thoughtseize deck. And Thoughtseize is definitely pretty good. Thoughtseize is not bad. Yeah, and it still only had 50-50. Splinter Twin is, so if you unban Splinter Twin, I would definitely put this really high up on the list. You know what? Splinter Twin itself may not be so bad, but Splinter Twin, the deck as a whole, with the counter magic, with the interaction, they get to play with Unholy Heat and a bunch of other stupid stuff. It's a really dominant, strong deck. And I think if they included... And we don't know what kind of build that they would play today, but if they played a build with Ledger Shredder and Ragavan Dragon Rage Chandler, some combination of those, not all 12, they would put early pressure on you to tap out, and then, so you either lose to those early game creatures or you lose to the combo on the back end. One or the two. You pick your poison. Remember, Tarmo Twin was that type of deck back in the day. It was a teamer twin deck. And the whole purpose was to make you get out that Tarmogoyf early, feel the pressure, tap out, and then BAM! Splinter Twin time. Can we stop think about one deck with Splinter Twin and start thinking about the other decks that would start to run Splinter Twin? No. Because we don't know if those decks will actually work. I don't know what other decks would play it. I mean, it would be interesting to see Splinter Twin on Fury. That would be pretty good. So, like, they probably adapt Fury? Maybe, probably. Would fit pretty good in Murktide? Maybe. Like I said Murktide earlier, like, maybe Murktide would be a good fit. Not entirely sure, but probably. But it is a card we can discuss unbanning, not like some other cards on this ban list. So my take is, this card is so powerful that if you unban it, everyone's going to be miserable. I think Modern can suck up this card. I don't think it's going to be like the tier 0 deck that is, you know, going to be... It's not Hogak, but it's going to be so good. It is such a good card that nobody in Modern is going to be happy that it's there, except the Splinter Twin players. And then when you ban it again, they're going to complain again. All right, next card. Oh, it's a cute one. We got Summer Bloom here. We got the... Ooh, that's a new Summer Bloom. I'm more familiar with the OG Summer Bloom. Also, a green and 1 generic, you may play up to 3 additional lands this turn. Our love is like the river in a summer season of long rains. For a little while, it spilled its banks, flooding the crops in the fields. This has only one purpose. It's one purpose and one purpose only. It's for the amulet decks. It's strictly why it was banned. Ooh, a lot of amulets. Amulet of Vigor. Whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, untap it. So turn 1 amulet. You would then go turn 2 Summer Bloom, and then you would play a, like, what is it? Simic Growth Chamber, something like that. So basically, you play Simic Growth Chamber, enters the battlefield tap, but then you untap it, and with the amulet, and then you float 2 blue, then you got to return a land back to your hand. So you return the Simic Growth Chamber back to your hand. You can do that 2 more times because you can play 3 land drops on 1 turn. You can make 3 land drops on 1 turn with Summer Bloom. So you do that 3 times. You have 3 green, 3 blue in your mana pool, and you go get yourself a delicious Primeval Titan. There it is. You get that big chunky boy. So this could so it's the point of Summer Bloom's banning is just to prevent turn 2 Primeval Titans. Amulet Titan is still a popular and miserable deck. Leave it banned. Summer Bloom is broken. We all saw that when it was played. Well, not everyone remembers those days. And it wasn't a hotly played deck, actually. Just as it started rising in popularity, that's when they decided to ban the Summer Bloom. Before Primeval, there was Hive Mind. No, they played them both. They played also... Yeah, you could... That's actually a good point. They played both of these in the same deck, so Hive Mind was also something that you could play by turn 2, and then you just packed and kill them. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other player copies that spell. Each of those players may choose new targets for their copy. So then they play Summoner's Pact. And they're happy. Okay, so they play Summoner's Pact. They go get a Primeval Titan. You gotta go get something. You get a copy of this, and at the beginning of your next upkeep, you gotta pay a green 2 generic. If you don't, you lose the game. Pass the turn. Oh, you don't have a green 2 generic. Looks like you lose. I win. So yeah, that's true. Yes, Hive Mind was a thing. Primetime has a handlebar for his boyfriend. Now they do it turn 4 with Azusa. They're now more of a, Primeval is not trying to ramp hard into Prime. Like, they are still trying to get a Primeval Titan as quickly as possible, but they're willing to play like a slower game. They're just like, eventually we're going to get the Primeval Titan, and you just have to get the Primeval Titan in play, and then it just sort of takes over the game from there. You can't unban Summer Bloom since Force of Vigor can negate Blood Moon unlike before. Or you're saying because now they have access to Force of Vigor, they can hit Blood Moon? Mind you, actually, with Summer Bloom, sometimes if they didn't, let's say they don't have Amulet of Vigor, then they would just play Summer Bloom and just dump a bunch of lands onto the battlefield and still set themselves up for a turn 3 Titan. Not that turn 3 Titan is any different these days. Turn 3 Titan is like pretty common. If you're not getting turn 3 Titan with Amulet, what are you doing? Why are you even playing this deck? Are you doing it right? Or are you doing it wrong? Now the Dryad is the main creature in that deck, yes. And it's very good. Actually, the main card in that deck is like Valakut. That's like the main win condition now. You're not even trying to win with Primeval Titans. Back in my day, you won with a Primeval Titan. You gave it double strike and all this other crap. These days, you just get a bunch of Valakut, the Molten Pinnacles. throw them onto the battlefield with a Dryad Elysian Grove, and like the game plays itself. Chat, in this channel, the last gameplay video is 3 weeks ago. Is he uploading them? Okay, yes, I will have a new gameplay channel very, very soon. I am still doing live gameplay on this channel, but there's still gonna be, I will have a new channel for gameplay. I love how MTG top decks just want to win as fast as possible and not play the game. Well, I mean, hey, that's the thing about Magic. It's all about ramping it in play as quickly as possible. Or, sorry, getting to your win as quickly as possible. It still bothers me that Valakut is not legendary. Yeah, me too. I mean, every single time I've been burned by this card. So anyway, we're, because of the speed, I do think this is quite a powerful card. This is quite a powerful card. But, you know, in comparison to what we have these days, I don't know if it's as bad as other cards. I guess what it is, it will enable a lot of turn 2 wins. If you unban Summerbloom, you do give them the option to play that Hive Mind thing again. But probably Primeval Titan would just be just as busted and strong. So turn 2 Primeval. We are all in agreement. No turn 2 Primeval Titans, right? Is that right? We're tired enough with turn 3 Primeval Titans. We don't have to want to deal with turn 2 Primeval Titans. Oh, look at that. It's a card that we just saw a few minutes ago. Tibalt's Trickery. This created the cheapest, most powerful Modern deck ever in the history of Modern. Never was there something so cheap and so powerful. This was part of the Violent Outburst. It was a Violent Outburst deck. I believe, if I understand the correctly, what was the deck? Was it? I think it was 4 Violent Outburst, 1 Tibalt's Trickery, and an Emrakul. So the whole idea. So this is the game plan, everyone. This is the game plan. And any deck could play this. And you could even have Gemstone Caverns in the deck to help ramp into like this turn 2 Violent Outburst. First you cascade into your Tibalt's Trickery, and then it says exile cards on the top of your library until they exile a non-land card with a different name. Okay, so you use Tibalt's Trickery on your Violent Outburst. Alright, to counter it. Counter target spell. So with Violent Outburst is still on the stack, by the way. So use Tibalt's Tree, counter your Violent Outburst. Choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards, and then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell. They may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and they put the exiled cards on the bottom of the library in a random order, and they go get Emrakul. So you would consistently, you don't have to mulligan a lot, mind you, but you would consistently, very consistently, get turn 3 Emrakul with this deck. And then if you had Gemstone Caverns, if you could keep a hand with Gemstone Caverns on the draw with a Violent Outburst, then you could get turn 2 Emrakul. It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. I played a lot with this deck. I made so many of my opponents angry. They were so angry. I jammed this deck so much. It was so vulnerable. Like, it wasn't OP or anything. So for that matter, I would say Tibalt's Trickery is a very low power card, but it did still very consistently create turn 3 victories. It should have been counter targets opponent's spell. Yeah, should have been strictly only opponent stuff. I think, but they probably designed it like this. They wanted you to target your own spells, do something janky with it. Whoever passed this through design was definitely on something. You know, honestly, at first I didn't see the potential in this card at all. No, another version ran Ardent Play. Like, Magic Aids had a completely different version where he clogged it up with Emrakuls and stuff like that. Emrakuls and a lot of Eldrazi Titans, but the deal is that was a way more expensive deck, whereas the deck with only 1 Tibalt's Trickery and 4 Violent Outburst and 1 Emrakul, that was a super budget deck. You could just fill it with a bunch of forests and mountains, and your entire budget was your Emrakul, which was like $22. So for $22, you have a turn 3 Modern deck. And sure, yeah, you're going to make everyone angry, but turn 3 is still turn 3. I would say the win rate was about 50-50. Because I actually jammed this deck a lot. It was easy to jam because you either like win or lose on the spot. So you either win on the spot or you lose on the spot. Like the games didn't like drag on or anything like that. 3 Tibalt's Trickery, 4 Violent Outburst, 3 Demonic Dread, 4 Emrakul. No, you can't have... Did it work like that? I am not familiar with that deck. I am only familiar with the bare bones Tibalt's Trickery or the one where they just loaded it with Eldrazi Titans and a lot of Cascade spells. There was a Tibalt's Trickery in every format from Standard to Modern. Did they try Tibalt's in Legacy too? I don't think so. It wouldn't work. Like this doesn't even work even in Modern because you could you just counter it. Counterspell decks never let this resolve. So, and then sometimes you had Violent Outburst in your hand, your opponent thought sees you, they take your Violent Outburst, then you're stone dead. If they counter the Tibalt's Trickery, you're stone dead. The guy who plays... No, I understand it works, but that was not the de facto build. This is not the de facto build. You run 4 Emrakuls to avoid the 3 at random mill. I can't remember. You could, yes, to dodge the 3 random mill thing, but in theory you could just play 1. I guess you should play 4. Technically. So you avoid, like, just in case there's 4 Emrakul on top of your deck. You mill 3 of them away. Legacy is so powerful, Modern is getting there. Absolutely. It screws us Mono Red Prison players when this got banned. Did it? It screwed us Mono Red Prison players. With Tibalt's Trickery? I don't think you guys didn't use Tibalt's Trickery. Yeah, there was that is a very different deck. Yeah, that was a very, very different deck. Oh, you know what? We should talk about that. Yeah, when Cascade was broken... actually, did this work like this? Hold on. Yeah, Tibalt's Trickery did help find Valky God... Did it help find... No, it was just a cascade of Valky God of Lies. But maybe there still was a version with Valky. I know there was a version with Omniscience. They just tried to put anything in play. Day 9 played this in Arena from day 1 with Stonecoil Serpent and got Coma on turn 2 in Standard. Yeah, I remember that happening in Standard as well. It was a lot of trouble. This card was a lot of trouble. It was a lot of trouble in Modern. However, in Modern, we do have a lot of tools to beat this. We've got the counter spells. We've got, like... we have counter spells. We have Hand Disruption. We've got, like, what's it called? What is it? Mind Funeral Effects? Yeah, target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until... No, that's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking of, like, Slaughter games. But no one plays Slaughter games. Oh, Unmoored Ego. Some decks play stuff like this. Choose a card name, search target player's target opponent's graveyard, hand, or library for up to 4 cards with that name. And they could just name Tibalt's Trickery. They just name Tibalt's Trickery, and boom, that's it. It's over. So there's a lot of ways of destroying this Tibalt's Trickery plan. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a powerful but jank card. I would say the EV, let's just say the power level is high, but the EV is low. Like, it's really mid-tier. Like, this deck really went off when it went off, and there's nothing you could do about it, or it just did nothing. Or it mulliganed a lot, and it went nowhere. Yeah, it was a pretty super glass cannon powerful deck. So, really good deck for, I guess, a beginner. They can enjoy ripping people apart in Modern, and sometimes the deck works, sometimes it doesn't. So, even though it was not a very good deck, and it certainly didn't dominate Modern at all, its results were just garbage. But we do know that when it went off, it destroyed you. And that's why Tibalt's Trickery is banned. But I would say it is... Yeah, I can't say it's not a powerful card, because it just outright stomps you if they've got the hand. I think it's just an anti-fun card. Bends the game too much. It's a pretty good way to put it. Wasn't Simian Spirit Guide in the deck? I think in the Omniscience version it was, because it was if the threat density of the deck was very high, like high with Eldrazi Titans and Omniscience, then yeah, Simian Spirit Guide I believe was played. But if it was like the all-land version with just some Emrakul's, Tibalt's Trickery, and Violent Outburst, then it didn't see play. The deck was very stupid, and the ban is well deserved. I'm very I actually love this deck. I bought into the deck. Solitude kills this deck easily. Yeah, Solitude wasn't around back then. Emrakul, what do you do? Flying protection from spells that are one or more colors. But Solitude is not a spell when it enters the battlefield, and it'll just exile Emrakul. Now it would really be pointless. But it'd still be the same thing. Have an answer to this or die. And it was like the same thing before. There were answers. There were answers, and then you died. Simple as that. Oh, here's a beauty. Treasure Cruise. Oh, the Delver era. This card single-handedly brought like a janky blue-red Delver deck to straight to tier 1. And it was one of the best budget decks probably in the history of Modern. Delver at the time was just a bunch of commons. It was Young Pyromancer, it was Delver of Secrets, it was Lightning Bolt, it was... Like, I think the most expensive card in the deck was basically Scalding Tarn and Snapcaster Mage, and the rest were all commons. Yeah, Ancestral Recall plus exile your graveyard. That's all you have to do. It's as simple as that. Play a bunch of removals, play a bunch of removal spells, play a bunch of cantrips, and then draw 3 cards. Cannot believe this was a common. Because it was like... Yeah, I know. Well, whatever. It was a common. Fortunately, the foils were really cheap. I didn't get burned too badly when I bought my foils. Do I still have those foils? Maybe not. This was so long ago. This was the brainchild of Khanzatar here. So I would like to remind the entire Modern community that when you guys think that Magic, they're printing broken cards. Oh, all of a sudden they're printing broken cards. You know what? Modern has been rocked by weird card design so many times in the past, whether it be, or like Magic the Gathering in general, like when they made the artifacts, when they made Phyrexian mana, when they made these delve spells. Every so often there's like a fire design era, like every, I don't know, at least once every 2 years. And now we've got all sorts of cards rocking Modern. I don't know what to say about this card. It's 1 mana, draw 3. That's exactly how it played. Sometimes you could play it for 3 mana and, you know, the player didn't mind. But that 3 extra cards really pulled you ahead. It made a lot of... Well, I mean, it was played in Burn, so that should say something about its power level. They just played like some random Steam vents in their deck that they fetched out, burn you down, and then, okay, refill the hand with Treasure Cruise. It's the only blue card in their deck. Remember when Planeswalkers ruined the game? Magic is dead! Yeah, I remember. I think those people who complain about Planeswalkers are such boomers. Why don't Wizards of the Coast put a rules text on a card with you may only have 1 copy in your deck, like you may run any number of this card or something? I think, well, in theory that's what they should do with legendary cards, but I'll tell you why they don't do that, Witherfang. There is a simple answer to that. They make more money when you need more of those cards. So if you need 4 of a particular card, then you have to try harder to go get it, and that decreases the supply of the cards and increases the value of the boxes. Now for a common, maybe it doesn't matter, but for all other cards it does. Yeah, they want you to have as many copies of a card as possible. I would love a world where they just restrict the cards, though. Just restrict this thing. I would have no problem with this card being restricted in Modern. I think I would have no problem. Hard to flashback. Yeah, Twin was playing Dig Through Time. Because it made more sense over there. Who was that? Who was there? Who saw the treasure cruise getting cast against them? Or maybe some of you were casting treasure cruise back in the day. But that was this card makes me feel old because I think this was like around 2014 when this card came out. That was 8 years ago. They don't really make more money since if the card is super strong, it will be highly sought after and they sell the boosters. Yeah, that's the point though. The price of the boxes increase and then the need for stores to buy more of those boxes because the EV of the boxes go up. That's too early, isn't it? Sorry everyone, the music is a bit jank today. We're not done yet. I gotta finish this series. If it's not gonna get finished this week, then it's never gonna happen. So anyway, Treasure Cruise, definitely a super ban-worthy card. Oh, here's an interesting one. Okay, I think this is a highly debatable card. Oh, just on one note, remember, this is Ancestral Recalls. This is one of the most banned cards in all of banned cards in the game. So one-on-one, that just pulls you too far ahead to draw 3 cards. So this is like a super powerful card. Whereas in Umezawa's jitte, and by the way, you know, you could put a poll. Let's poll time. Is it jit or is it jitte? That's a great poll. We'll do that while we discuss how good or bad this card is. At 2 generic, whenever equipped creature deals combat damage, put 2 charge counters on Umezawa's jitte. Remove a charge counter from Umezawa's jitte. Choose one. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, or target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn, or you gain 2 life. Equip 2. Now, people are under a lot. There's this gross impression that this would completely take over the format and it would kill off like creature-based decks. And as a creature-based player, I disagree. I actually don't think this card would do anything. I don't even know if they would. I don't know if it would. I don't know how many slots. Some decks may not even find room for this thing. Okay, hold on. We're asking the community here. We're getting to the bottom of this. We're gonna get to the bottom of this chat. Everything is ETB this day. This would not change that much. Like, it's a huge liability to get this in play, even paying 2 mana, or cheat it and play with Stoneforge Mystic, it doesn't matter. Then you try to equip it to a creature and then attack, and then if that creature is destroyed, you're usually completely tempoed out. There's a lot of better options to put into play outside of Umezawa's jitte. And I think, like, just giving a creature -1/-1 until end of turn isn't even that relevant. The creatures are enormous these days. Like, what are you going to do to a Fury? You're just going to tickle it. That's all you're going to do. It's not really all that relevant. The life gain doesn't change much, so I don't think, like, Burn has a whole lot to worry about. I mean, there are worse cards for Burn to be scared of. This is a I think it's a grossly overrated card. A lot of people think, oh, the format's going to go to hell. Creature-based decks are never going to come back, which, mind you, creature-based decks are hurting. Oh, yeah. You think jitte is the problem? What about this card? What about this? Among other cards, like Solitude and stuff like that. The creature-based decks have way bigger problems. I would gladly exchange Umezawa's jitte for any of these. Any of them. I really don't care. I would love to exchange one of these cards on the ban list. So jitte is very much not even on my radar for problems. Am I more concerned about Ragavan hitting me and that cost a 1/4 of the mana? Yeah, I would be much more concerned about Ragavan hitting you. Yeah, you can't even search it with Urza Saga. 0 out of 10. Okay, jit/jitte is Japanese for this. 10 hands is pronounced jute. Ooh, interesting. I might But that doesn't, it doesn't say jitte. So is it? So I'm still probably on the right path. That it's jitte, not jit. Oh god, I hear my cat throwing up. It's on a carpet. I know it's on the carpet. Ugh. He's in the territory of a carpet. Damn it. Well, I have something nasty to do when I get back after the stream. Okay, so what do we have? I want to see what the consensus here is. A little disorganized here. Oh man, we are super... It's super popular for jitte. Check it out. Jitte is just dominating. Just a few of you weirdos think it's jit. I'm not really gonna call you weirdos. You know what? I think it's completely reasonable to think that it's jit as well. But given that the Japanese translation is jitte, I think it is close. The close enough Americanized translation should be jitte. Chubby people heard you. It's actually Salute puking. I hope. Or maybe it is Chubby Meatball. I don't know. I didn't go check. With Fury in the format and jitte being unbanned, that would be another anti-creature card in the format. It doesn't matter though. This thing is very irrelevant. What I'm trying to get at is this card is clunky. There's like decks don't have any room for this card. It's not clear that it's better than Sword of Fire and Ice, although like probably it is. But like most decks aren't even playing Sword of Fire and Ice anymore. So many decks would not care about this. Maybe they would. Like, maybe it would help beat the Ragavan decks or whatever. But it's definitely really low on the bar. It's not modern ban-worthy is what I'm getting at. Like, there are so many cards on the ban list. This one doesn't belong there. Yeah, not like Stoneforged. No, like Stoneforged Fistic might not tutor it. Like, is this better than, say, just getting a Cauldron Complete? Oops. Is it better than getting Cauldron Complete? Is it better than getting Batterskull? In the Hammer Time decks, is it better than getting a Colossus Hammer? Is it better when against a graveyard deck to get the lion than getting Lion Sash? Like, I think we're at a point where like there are just too many better things to go get than getting the stupid thing, because at the very least, like Cauldron Complete at the very least is a threat that needs to be answered by removal, and then you could try to re-equip this thing. Same thing with Batterskull, and then you can bring it back to your hand, recast it. Whereas with this card, you play this, you put this into play, you spend the 2 mana, put on your creature, the creature dies, you can just complete. You could be tempoed out at that point for the rest of the game, and you'll never come back. Just not gonna happen. Evan Irwin says jitte. I say jitte. It's like Tolarian Academy being banned in Commander. It's completely pointless. No, I think Tolarian Academy is quite clearly bannable. That those two aren't even in the same ballpark. You know, Tolarian Academy is like a super guy's cradle. No, I've never heard of that argument before. I'm not for that one. Some MTG dev lost to it several times and was like, ban it. Well, I mean, at the time, maybe it was worthy of being banned, but Modern just evolved to a point where this card is not even relevant anymore. And, I mean, they're probably not going to unban it ever, because Wizards of the Coast seems to have this philosophy that, like, they have to ask, like, what good does it do to the format if we unban this card? If we unban it, what good is it going to do? Is it going to help anybody, or is it just going to hurt people? And technically, it's not going to help anybody, and it's only going to hurt people, so it's going to remain banned for a very long time. Although it is situational, I don't think jitte will be any problem being unbanned. I think it's completely worthless. I think this is a very, very low power card that was worthy of being on the ban list probably a long time ago, but it has no business being on the ban list now. I don't even think this sees a whole lot of play in Legacy anymore. Legacy Death and Taxes doesn't play Batterskull anymore, but they play one. Oh, they still play. Okay, they just as I was talking about Legacy, they play one jitte and one Cauldron. Oh, so they're basically playing the same stuff, but they remove Batterskull for the Cauldron Complete, is what you're telling me. Has anyone saying unban it actually played with it? Yes, I've played with this card a lot in Legacy, and to the point where I dumped it from my deck because I always lost with it. So I'm up against Delver deck. I play Umezawa's jitte, and they're like, yeah, sure. I equip it to my creature, Lightning Bolt. Okay, and then I'm dead. I'm stone dead. I just spent 4 mana to do nothing, and I get tempoed out, and I never get back into the game. Never. Instead of dealing with the board with just regular cards, soaking 4 mana, and soaking 4 mana in Modern has a similar effect. If you spend 4 mana to do nothing, and mind you, Modern is a heavy removal-based format. So, assuming that your creature, if you assume that your creature that you're going to equip the jitte to, or jitte to, is going to live, that is magical Christmas land. It is not happening. It's definitely going to get killed. It's a very high probability of getting killed. And let's say this thing connects. What is it? Game over? Well, you can buff it up +2/+2 next turn. You can gain some life. Like, this is really meaningless nonsense. And like, what would this do versus the Omnath deck? It would do nothing. It would just do absolutely nothing versus the Omnath deck. The effects was made into a saga in Neo Kamigawa. Yeah, and that doesn't even see any play. How about Sigarda's Aid and Pure Still? It still wouldn't be good enough. Because, like, why would you play this and not play the Hammer? Like, this is just better. You can kill them with Inkmoth Nexus in 1 shot. It's just better. So anyway, Umezawa's jitte, I think, is a garb card. I don't think it's relevant anymore. It would see play, but like, it would just be a card in Modern, like all the other powerful cards in Modern. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Free equips and synergy is the only way to run it, but even then, like, there are better equipment if you're running with free equips. Okay. The last card on this list. And a card we have to deal with for a year. Uro! Oh no. Are we gonna get it? Should have waited. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Blue, green, 1 generic for a 6/6 creature. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escaped. When Uro enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life. But that's not all. You also got to draw a card. But wait, there's more! Then you put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. And to escape it was easy enough. Blue, blue, green, green. That's it. This was... I remember people were asking me about Uro when it first came out. Is this like the next Oko? Is it the next Oko? Should I be buying into this? And truth be told, for the first month, this card went nowhere. People were jamming it into graveyard decks, and it was just awkward and stupid because they were trying to, like, you know, they're trying to self-mill, fill the graveyard play in Uro. But then once the control decks, once those pesky control decks discovered, hey, this is a great card. It gains life, so you never lose to burn. You ramp, which means you can compete with the Titan, the Amulet decks. Like, they're supposed to be the ramp deck. No, in Uro control decks ended up being really good ramp decks. Yeah, this thing became dominating. Once they found out it was best in a control shell, it saw it was in Bant, it was in 4-color, it was in Sultai, it saw many different variations. All of a sudden, Simic was on the table. It was one of the best Simic decks ever. I think Uro needs to be retested in Modern. Like, Uro is not safe to be unbanned at all. It was a very, very good card. It was clearly dominant. It was in the... I would say it was a card that was so good, but not good enough to be banned, like immediately be banned. They let us play with it for a year. For an entire year, and then they banned it. It was clearly good. Where is Space Marine to tell us this should be unbanned? I think he's banned in chat. I think some mod banned him, because he usually swears a lot. Or maybe YouTube just auto-banned him. This card should have all the copies rounded up and shredded. Some pleb says, Nikachu had the worst year of my life this year and had a hard time picturing it getting better. I just want to thank you for being one nice thing I enjoy lately. You're welcome, some pleb. You know what? Don't forget, there's always tomorrow. So much in your life can change. 3 days from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now. You just think where you were like 3 years from now, how much different it is today. And another 3 years can change a whole... Another 3 months by itself can change a whole lot. So keep hanging in there. Uro shouldn't leave the ban list. For Carl Omnath would just be brutal in love with it. Well, that's what they did. It was Uro and Omnath, like peanut butter and jelly. Like the Omnath deck is just Uro minus Omnath these days. The Omnath deck is just it's like it didn't even go away. It's like it didn't even go away. They just adopted. Well, I guess they lost Uro, but they got back the cards. They got back what they lost with like Solitude and Fury and stuff. When's the next ban announcement? They do it randomly. Make brutal love with it. So anyway, Uro, for its life gain, for its card draw, and the fact that it happened every single time it entered the battlefield, so you just escape, and all of a sudden you can like play more lands and gain more life and draw more cards. That was too much. The draw a card was not necessary. The life gain and ramp. Why did they have to have 3 abilities on this thing? They really pushed the hell out of this. It's a good thing they didn't really make a whole cycle. They had only Uro and Kroxa, and that's it. So this ended up being a really powerful card. It's really deceptive, but it just slowly grinds you into dust. And you get a mana advantage like none other. They nerfed it in Alchemy, but I can't remember how. Oh no, I think did they ban something else? I think they nerfed something else, Uro. Let's see, can we find the nerfed Uro? No, I think they nerfed another card. It's not even legal in Alchemy. See, it's not legal. It's not even in Alchemy. That's why we can't find the nerf card. They nerfed like Teferi Time Raveler. They nerfed a lot of stuff. Remove the card draw from Uro and maybe okay? Oh, definitely. Like, because the thing that made Uro so insanely... Like, when Uro escaped and you didn't deal with it, I mean, the game was basically over. They would just attack and draw a card every single turn. No one was coming back from that. And even if you did deal with Uro a few turns later, it didn't matter. It didn't change anything. But it hurt too much just to escape it and get an extra card. Like, it was free. So you gain a card... And then if you kill it, well, I mean, you didn't come back from that massive card disadvantage. It's not like you lost anything. You don't even lose anything when you play it for 3 mana. And I mean, that was the disgusting thing. They could play it for 3 mana, put a land in play, and then that was their interaction to deal with whatever. Like, you never tap out with this card. It's very hard to tap out with this card. So anyway, that's why Uro is on the ban list, and it's not coming off. No deck could grind it out properly. Just like how it feels like you can't grind out Omnath decks today, but that's the deal. Yeah. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. And that wraps up all the powerful banned cards in Modern. I hope you understand which ones are powerful, which ones are not so powerful. Because they're not all powerful. Some cards on there are just there because they're old relics of Modern. Some are jank. Some just make an unfun environment. But some are crazy busted, and that's why they're on the ban list. All right, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We do this Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. So if you want to be there live, be there or be square. Thanks so much, everyone, for the super chats and to becoming members of the Coffee Crew. I really appreciate it. Lets me know we do this every single weekday. But thank you guys so much for showing up every day. The people who show up in the morning, because I'm not the show. You guys are the show. You're everything to me. So keep brewing up those coffees, and we'll keep brewing up the magic. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you at the next